All right, so we're continuing on with the Unit 4 test review. We just went through the first section of just simplifying simple radicals. Now we include addition, subtraction, multiplication, and all of these. Looks like we don't have division to worry about, so I'm not going to touch that subject. So the rest of this is actually pretty easy then. So first thing you want to do is anytime that you have a radical, try and simplify it, just like what we did in the previous problems. Actually, in this case, it's not really that necessary because all three of these are square root of 8s. So when you're adding radicals together, as long as they have the same square root number, you can combine the coefficients. It's kind of like combining like terms. Like if I had 3x plus 5x plus 2x, since all these are x's, 3x's plus 5x's plus 2x's, that would be 10 total x's. The same thing works here. If I have 2 square root of 8s, 3 square root of 8s, and 2 more square root of 8s, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 square root of 8s. Then I just need to simply, simplify the radical and I'm good to go. I already did that also, square root of 8, but, whatever. We'll just practice it one more time. So square root of 8 is the same as saying square root of 4 times 2. 4 is one of my square root numbers. I'm always on the lookout for square root numbers. So when I take the square root of 4, it becomes a 2, so that goes up front. 7 times 2 times the square root of 2. 7 times 2 is 14, and then that square root of 2 is still left in there because I can't take the square root of 2, and that's it. The problem's done. Number 6, reduce your radicals because none of these radicals are the same. So 45, that's 9 times 5. And that's nice because I know I can take the square root of 9. Square root of 5, I'm just kind of stuck. I can't really do anything with that. But 27, that's 9 times 3, so that will work out as well. When I take the square root of 9, that's a 3, so 3 goes up front, so I get negative 2 times 3 times the square root of 5 minus the square root of 5. And then square root of 9 is 3, so 3 goes up front, so I get minus 3 square root of 3. 2 times 3 is 6, so I have negative 6 square root of 5 minus square root of 5, then minus 3 radical 3. And remember, you can only combine like terms if the radicals are the same. So the only ones that I can actually combine are this negative 6 square root of 5 and this negative 1 square root of 5. So if I take negative 6 and negative 1, that's negative 7 square root of 5s, and then minus 3 square root of 3. Don't combine it any further because you can't, because these have different radicals. So just leave it alone. That's the simplified expression right there. And that's number 6. Number 7, we just have multiplication. That's what the parentheses mean. And so we're distributing the square root of 5 in here. So, we just write it out initially the same way that we usually would. Square root of 5 times square root of 10 plus the square root of 5 times 5. So now here's something that you need to remember. When you're multiplying radicals, when it's a radical times a radical, you can just multiply it together underneath the square root. So this becomes the square root of 5 times 10, which is 50. But here's an important note. This one has a radical, this one does not. So you can't combine those together. So they just kind of are what they are. I'm going to move the little 5 out front so it becomes 5 square root of 5. But I can't, go any further than that. That's as far as I can go. I can reduce this because I know that 50 is 25 times 2, and 25 is one of my square root numbers because the square root of 25 is 5. So this becomes, let's see here. Square root of 25 is 5, so 5 goes up front, and then square root of 2 plus 5 square root of 5. And there we go. There's our simplified answer. Remember, we can't combine these because the radicals are different. All right, let's move on to number 8. So I'm going to distribute the square root of 6 into both of these, so I get square root of 6 times square root of 6 plus the square root of 6 times 2. Now, the square root of 6 times the square root of 6 is the square root of 36. And then I'm just going to move the 2 out front because these can't multiply together like combining wise. So it's just going to be 2 square root of 6 for that one. And then the square root of 36 is just regular old 6. So I get 6 plus 2 square root of 6. You can't combine these any further because this one doesn't have a square root of 6 on it. So this just is what it is. That's the number that you get. All right. And now I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint as to a way that you can check these answers to make sure that they are indeed correct. So if you just have a calculator handy, most calculators won't just reduce this stuff flat out. And besides, you need to show work to get credit, obviously, but to check your work at the very end, what you can do is this. You can type in this expression right here as it's written, so like 2 square root of 8 plus 3 square root of 8 plus 2 square root of 8. and you get some decimal answer. And I'm going to write that one down, okay? So it's going to be 19.798, so about 19.8, okay? Now check this out. If I type in this number over here as well, my answer that I got, 14 square root of 2, I should get that exact same number. Yeah, 19.8, right around there. So that's how I know that these two are the exact same thing. If you're getting different numbers at the very end, then that means that they're not the same. You know, just another way to check your work. All right, so that's the second section. If you need a little bit more help with this stuff, this is all in 4.2. There's a bunch more examples in there, and you can practice those. I'm going to move on to the next section in a separate video. All right, that's it.